With the reading of the call of the meeting. Second. All those in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously. The return of posting and publication of the notice on file in a record state that said notice bearing the written signatures of all the selectmen or a majority of them has been posted on the town signpost or other exterior place near the office of the town clerk on Tuesday, January 21, 2014, and a copy thereof has been published in the New Haven Register, a newspaper having substantial circulation in the town of Woodbridge in its issue of January 21, 2014. I now call on the first select person in Owensdale.
Thank you. Good evening, particularly good evening to all the hardy souls who made it out tonight. The weather certainly did not cooperate with us, but it was very important for us to go ahead with the meeting because the schedule for the referendum and for going ahead with the project depends upon our having this special town meeting this evening. So I very much appreciate all of you who could make it. We will be taking this presentation and make it available to the extent we can on the town website. And also, I do want to mention to all of you to tell your friends who couldn't make it tonight, and we will publicize this to the greatest extent possible. Our consulting engineer on the project, John Rice, has graciously agreed to be at Town Hall this Thursday from 5 to 7 p.m. So people who couldn't make it and have questions that are not answered by the presentation can come to Town Hall. So once again, it's Thursday from 5 to 7 for people who couldn't make it tonight. I want to thank Larry very much for being the moderator tonight. And as Larry pointed out, this is a special town meeting that in some circumstance would be the time and place where we actually vote on this project. However, in this case, the Board of Selectmen has determined that the vote on the resolution approving the bond authorization will take place by referendum. And I can't say too often that the referendum is next Tuesday, February 11th. Polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. And I encourage all eligible voters to turn out at that time. Since 1997, we've had 3 separate building committees look at Beecher Road School and assess the needs there. I would like to take this opportunity to once again thank all of the members of the various building committees for the many, many hours they put into this project. They are outstanding examples of the volunteerism that we so depend upon here in Woodbridge, and we have such extraordinary examples of people's generosity of their time and expertise to the town. I'd like to particularly thank the building committee that got us to this point, Jeff Kaufman, who chaired the committee, Jill McCrevin, secretary, Andy Esposito, who's here this evening, Greg Coyne, and Jason Fannenbecker. They did yeoman's work to get us to this point. Once again, I thank all of you for coming out tonight and those at home who will follow up after this about educating yourselves on this very important project. I want to say again, we had an informational forum back in November. We had excellent turnout then, so many people have seen this presentation and are up to speed on what the project is about. By educating ourselves, we can share an informed decision-making to advance our collective vision for our town and for Beecher Road School. So I would ask you once again, please mark your calendars. February 11th is the referendum, and I think you'll see from the presentation what the needs of the school are and the excellent proposals we have for going forward. Thank you. With that, turn this over to Jeff Calvin, Chair of the Building.
Good evening. This building committee came about after from the last building committee, which came about from the building committee before that.
Can you use the mic, Jeff?
Speak up. I love coming to public meetings because everybody tells me I don't speak loud enough, and my kids tell me to stop yelling. It's perfect. And I tell them about this all the time. Anyway, the reason this building committee was created was because the last building came up with a plan after numerous years of approximately $20 million. It was just under $20 million. And the Board of Selectmen were very concerned that the town would have trouble advocating a $20 million project. So hence another building committee. And the original idea of this new building committee was to look at the $20 million project and see if we could actually cut it down into phases. When we started doing work on it, we found out that numbers coming down and paring down the actual project, it was coming in substantially less, and therefore it was actually fine to do one project that would last over a 2-year period, mainly because of school times. The top priority for the new building committee was to seal the envelope of the school, and we hired John Rice. Yes.
Still can't, you're still not using the microphone, can't hear you.
How's that? Is that better?
Yes.
Anyway, we engaged the services of John Rice at AKF to study mechanics and all the energy systems and the single pane windows and the roof and the insulation and the roof that was leaking. And with AKF's guidance, we went out to bid with four consultants, Honeywell being one of them, and ESG being the other two. But energy performance contracting, where they would guarantee the energy cost savings. And we ended up negotiating with ESG, who's done a great job. Pretty early in the process, it was requested by the Board of Selectmen that we include the pool in our project. So the retrofitting of the pool covers, mechanical systems, minifying system is all included in this project as well. Further along in the process, unfortunately because of the shootings at Sandy Hook, security measures for the school were also put into the project. So the project breaks down, it's approximately $10 million for the school, approximately $2 million for the pool area, and just under $1 million for the security. All through the process, we had the input of the Board of Ed. We made Dr. Stella and Al Pula and Margaret come to all our meetings, which they totally loved. We didn't make them bring coffee all the time. And we did do a presentation, the Building Committee did do a presentation to the Board of Ed in December of 2012 with this project, and they approved it unanimously. And with that, I'll turn it over to John Rice from AK. Yeah, let's do the video.
Nestled in the rolling green countryside of Woodbridge, Connecticut,
Beecher Road School is home to approximately 770 students in pre-kindergarten through 6th grade. Built in the 1960s, Beecher Road School serves as more than a school for Woodbridge residents. It is home to many community events and programs all year. This past summer, more than 500 children and adults were engaged in programs and activities, including summer enrichment, special education, and a literacy clinic. As an integral part of the Woodbridge community, Beecher Road School continuously seeks to promote academic excellence, community engagement, and responsible citizenship in a safe, secure, and nurturing environment. Like many school districts in the country, Beecher Road School is facing aging infrastructure challenges. The building is constantly requiring repairs and is, in fact, wasting energy, whereby Beecher Road School is now in the bottom % of schools in terms of energy performance.
There's a sharp contrast. Beecher Road School academically is one of the top schools in the state, in fact in the country. In science, we were number 1 in our DERG, which is top 20 performing districts, number 5 in the state out of 168 districts. But that contrasts with the fact that nationally we're on the bottom of energy efficiency. That means dollars going out the windows and doors during the heating season. The fact is, though, that we could be at the top 20%. We could be a green school and use our environment correctly.
While the school has grown over the past several years, parts of the school building are over 50 years old. The aging infrastructure interrupts the school's learning environment with challenges such as poor indoor air quality, roof leaks, poor insulation resulting in building heat loss, and lack of heating and air conditioning.
As a parent, we know to send our kids to school on the coldest winter day in layers, from a tank top to a sweatshirt, because in some rooms the heat is working way too well and a tank top's the appropriate outfit, and in other rooms sweatshirt and mittens are the appropriate outfit.
In my role as an administrator, it's not just reading, writing, and arithmetic. I need to be concerned about facilities as well.
45 years ago, I was looking out the same windows that my students, my first grade students today, look at.
A careful and thorough evaluation of the school building verified the need for a variety of infrastructure improvements in order to ensure a quality, safe, and secure learning environment. Among the needed improvements are upgrades to the windows and doors, boilers, heating, ventilation, and air conditioning systems, as well as a new roof to prevent water leaks and damage. According to the teachers and staff who work hard to overcome current building challenges, a proactive approach that facilitates the implementation of needed improvements is more conducive to the school standards of academic excellence.
We expect the classrooms to be environments that are conducive to learning, and many times they're really interrupted, that learning process.
In this classroom, the air handling system and the heating circulation system is old enough so that the noise that it makes actually interferes with our ability to teach and learn. As an example of how the system works, when the air handling and the heating system is on, it sounds like it is right now. When it's turned off, the sound in the room dramatically changes. So I think it's pretty clear that the influence of the system on teaching and learning in this classroom is pretty acute.
We have windows that do not have screens, and we can't get screens because they are so old. So that does not allow for any kind of fresh air, extra fresh air coming in.
Studies have found that a better physical environment that includes superior energy performance contributes to increased learning and productivity.
The building serves as a town center. Besides the education that goes on during the day, there are comprehensive recreation programs throughout the afternoon and into the late evening hours. Truly a building that does not sleep. We can be awarded a green school certification, better learning environment for our children, help us to have a higher quality of education, at the same time save taxpayers and provide a wonderful school and community school for the next 20 years.
So you guys made me nervous and I'm not speaking loud enough before, but I did forget one important element of our presentation. We actually, the last building committee and this committee actually did do analysis on actually having the school taken down and building a new school. And the prices that we were getting from architects and from other towns is that the new school would cost between $40 and $50 million. And before we decided this was probably a better way to go. And now it's being overturned.
Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
I'm going to run us just through the scope of work that we've planned for the project. This shows the various wings of the schools and the years they were built in. The original building, making it over 50 years old now. After that, the center part area and the town end of the building was constructed in the 1970s. Then you could barely make this out. I believe this says 1994. This is the D wing, and then the K wing and the SK wing were the most recent. They were constructed in 1997. So, my firm is a consulting engineering firm, and we were brought in to evaluate the existing building and to make recommendations for what should be improved with the building. The very first thing that we did was came in and took a look at the existing conditions. So we have very old boilers. They were oil-fired boilers. They were really designed for gas. They were failing. Every year there was about $12,000 that had to get put just into their upkeep. This is the boiler that's down at the town end of the building. This shows one of the classrooms. There was roof leaks coming into the classroom. And these are actually moisture-absorbing bags. The indoor environment was getting just so humid because the envelope wasn't able to keep the elements out that the teachers were just hanging up moisture bags just to absorb the moisture inside the classrooms. This shows one of the roof fans is just broken. It wasn't operating. Some of the ductwork up on the roof has insulation that's been damaged and moisture getting into the insulation. So just generally, a lot of the building systems require upgrade. In addition to the mechanical systems, we also took a very hard look at the building envelope because we knew of the stories we heard about air infiltration and moisture infiltration into the indoor spaces. So we retained a infrared scan company, and what they do, they come out and they use thermal imaging just to evaluate the facade of the building. So this is the original portion of the building, the A, B, and C wings. The very light colors means where a lot of heat is coming out. There's two of the students that they did an infrared scan on, and it shows that they're very much warm beings, except the little cold noses there. But when you apply this to the building, it shows the mullions in between the windows. In the original building, all the windows are single pane glass. So that's a major source where heat is escaping. And these systems are antiquated now. All windows now are thermally insulated, thermal breaks on the mullions. Also with the S-wing, the S-wing has these soffit vents. I don't know if you can see here, but there's these little holes that are meant to vent the attic. But it was really constructed poorly, and it was just a source for a lot of heat just pouring out of the building, even in some of the newer portions of the building. And then the windows also, you can see the mullions are a major source of heat being lost. So we developed a scope of work that looks like this. We want to improve the building envelope that we just looked at. We wanted to replace the old oil-fired boilers that were repeatedly failing with new high-efficiency gas boilers. Well, actually, that project has already been done. One of the boilers just totally failed this year, so that project went ahead of the rest, and those gas boilers are already in. We'll take a look at that in an upcoming slide. But it's already saving the town money. That last year, it saved $60,000 on the heating costs for the building. So it's already improving results. Mechanical equipment that I showed you will be upgraded. BMS stands for Building Management System. That's the controls, that things go on at a certain time, shut off at a certain time, has some degree of logic to it. So it controls all the equipment. Instead of right now, a maintenance person goes around and manually turns things off at the end of the day. Lighting controls, when children aren't in the classroom, the lights will go off. A microturbine, we'll explain on the upcoming slide what that is. Some renewable energy we also wanted to add to the building. Solar PV panels, we looked into a wind turbine, and of course, as Jeff mentioned, security upgrades. So the roof replacement is for the original portion of the building. That's right down here, the A, B, and C wing. These still has the original roof on the building. The This is what it looks like here. We're going to replace it with a new technology. It's called a white reflective roof. So as heat hits onto it, it reflects that heat, and that heat doesn't come into the building and reduces your air conditioning costs. Some of those original curtain walls that we were looking at, the facade of the building where all the heat was pouring out of, we're going to replace that from the original portions of the building as well. And that's the A, B, and C wing. So right here it shows every place where we'll be replacing that curtain wall and on these two facades inside the interior courtyard. Those are the wings there. The boilers that we talked about. This was the original boiler. That's gone now. And these are the new boilers. They're gas-fired, they're high efficiency, low temperature hot water. They're up and running right now in the school. Mechanical upgrade, there's several things that we're doing, and this isn't really meant to be seen, but it's the main boiler plant is over here. That's where the new boilers are, and we're running new piping down throughout the school, and it's going to pick up, each classroom is going to have its own dedicated fan coil unit. So if each one can be controlled individually for individual temperature control. If you don't need the energy at that time, they'll shut off. And these are some of the pieces of equipment that we'll put in. Ventilation air will be brought in through units like this that will be up on the roof. And what this does, it brings in fresh air, it exhausts an equivalent amount of air, and then it has these heat exchangers, so the good energy that's in the air you're exhausting will be transferred to the air that's coming in. So a day like when it's 20 degrees outside and you're exhausting good, warm, 75-degree air will temper that 20-degree air that's coming in, and that's an energy saver. And then for the first time, we'll add central air conditioning to the facility. And the pool area, right now, doesn't have a pool dehumidification unit. So pool environments evaporate water, and water have chlorides in them. So that's toxic, it gets to the structure, it could actually start deteriorating the structure. So what you install is a pool dehumidification unit that dries out the air. As soon as I've stepped into the Beecher Road School, even at the north end, the second you step inside, you can kind of smell the chlorine and that will change now because we'll keep it under negative pressure and dry that moisture out of the air. We mentioned a new control system. This shows some of the controls that we have in the building right now. It's a pneumatic control system. It uses an air compressor, which consumes energy, and the controls operate by this tubing that goes down to all the pieces of equipment. That's going to change. And Greg Kohler, who does the facilities operation, he'll be able to sit at his desk. He'll be able to control, he'll look at a dashboard like this, and he'll be able to control all areas in the building. He could even access this from his home. We'll be doing new lighting controls, new lower watt bulbs, and then also occupancy sensors, as we said before, they'll shut the lights off when it's not in use. The microturbine. What the microturbine is a piece of equipment that burns natural gas, produces electricity, and in the process, it generates some heat. And we could use the heat for certain purposes. You always want to look in the summertime, what are you going to use the heat for in the summertime? Because this runs 24/7. So in the summertime, we'll use it for pool water heating for the pool, and then also domestic hot water heating throughout the building. Obviously, in the winter, we could also use it for space heating. But why it's an energy efficient measure is because it generates electricity more efficiently than the local utility company could generate electricity. For every 1 kW that you purchase from the utility company, 3 kWs is wasted. This has an 80% efficiency. It's about 53% efficient in generating the waste heat, and 30% efficient in generating electricity. And we spoke about some renewable energy projects. We'll have 50 kW of solar panels on the roof, and we're looking at the possibility of putting a wind turbine or at least show small 1 kW wind turbines. There's some regulations that we're still navigating, but we're looking at installing renewable energy. So, the way energy is measured in facilities is this factor called energy use intensity. It's the total amount of energy that you're using in a year divided by the square footage of your building. And the EPA has this website called the Portfolio Manager, where every building can put their data into it, and you can benchmark your building against other buildings across the nation. So right now, this is where Beecher Road School is today. It has a score of 38, which means that it's in the bottom 38 percentile of energy use. The median means 50% is better and 50% is less. This is what it would look like. Now, what we would be targeting is to be an Energy Star facility. An Energy Star facility means that you have to be in the top 25% percentile in your type of building in the country. And when we put all those measures that we just looked at, all the improvements that we want to make, this is where we're projecting Beecher Road School will be. We're looking at the top 20% that will have an Energy Star rating of 80. So we'll look to actually file for this and then benchmark this nationally against other schools, similar schools. LEED. LEED is a rating system sponsored by the United States Green Building Council, and it's the definition of what is green. So a lot of people can say we have a green school. So the US GBC developed this rating system, and it's performance-based. If you do certain things, you get certain points, and then on that scale, you can rate if you have LEED certified school, LEED silver, LEED gold, or LEED platinum. So we want to do this project as a LEED project, just so we can get that official certification that to see how it ranks and the areas that it ranks in. There's 5 different categories. It could be energy efficiency, it could be an indoor air quality, it could be water efficiency, and we are doing water improvements in the school also with flow fixtures, and then sustainable sites and then the materials that you use, low VOC paints that don't off gas. So that's a rating system, and also what we like about this is that it encourages community involvement. So we'll be able to have design charrettes and talk about different measures and how we'll achieve it, and be able to bring the community in to discuss that. So we engaged the architectural firm of Herb Newman and partners. Herb is a resident of Woodbridge, and they've done renderings. So there's going to be improvements to the outside of the school. This is a new canopy that will be at the entrance, and will give the school a new look. And then also they've done renderings of what the indoor environment will look like as well. So the building will get fresh paint. It will get new lighting, as we said. So it'll be day lit. Still a lot of glass letting light in. So in summary, the goals that we're looking to achieve for the project is to improve the building's energy performance, enhance the indoor air quality, to achieve a high-performance building. And we want to set some high goals here and to really leave a legacy for this community. In terms of the overall cost, this is how it broke down. The overall project is about $13.3 million, and it's a lot of mechanical. I guess a good portion, a third of it, is mechanical upgrades. A lot in the building envelope. And then you have general contracting, which is the canopy work and the paint work and the ceiling work. Of course, security upgrades will be done to the school, architect and engineering fees, renewable energy, and so forth. That's how it breaks down cost-wise. So with that, I think Tony is going to be our next speaker, and he'll go over the finances.
Thank you, John. So I wanted to speak a little bit about our finances and the existing town debt and how this project fits into our financial picture in terms of our long-term debt most specifically, and also ended up with the tax impact on the average taxpayer here at Woodbridge. So the first thing I'd like to say is that our existing town debt is about $2.4 million. This includes bonds for the new fire station and open space, Beecher South roof, which was done in 2003, a library, solar remediation, and the Beecher 1996 edition. This will come into play a little later in our discussion. It also includes notes for the Woodbridge Country Club acquisition and the Public Works facility, which is currently in process behind Town Hall. So our total indebtedness, which would be the amount of money that we owe currently as of June 30th, 2013, is a little over $23 million. So that's our total town indebtedness. And the debt service looks as follows. You'll see that there's a peak here in 2016, and then drops off. This is the year where the Beecher 1996 edition, which was a 20-year bond issue, is paid off. So you can see that there's a drop here, about a little over $400,000 in debt service payments. So that's important for this particular project. In addition to town debt, we are also responsible for and we monitor Amity's overlapping debt. That's essentially the town's percentage of the debt for the Amity Regional School District. And based on our contribution to Amity, at a little under 30%, the town's portion of Amity debt at 6/30/2013 was about $15.7 million. So added to our $23 million debt locally, we have about a little under $40 million of direct and overlapping debt that is essentially owed by the town for various projects. The project budget for this particular issue is $13.2 million, and we then have to add to that borrowing costs of about $130,000, which includes interest and fees to issue, legal fees, and financial advisor fees, access to markets. So that gives us the project budget of $13.3 million that you have in front of you this evening. The permanent financing is scheduled for sometime in midsummer of 2016, depending on the schedule of the project. The total budget is the gross budget. It does not include possible grant or utility incentives that exist and that we hope to take advantage of. Currently estimated between $300,000 and $400,000, but we will do what we the best we can to maximize those incentives. The bond issue is 20 years. And current rates are a little over 3%, about 3.25%. So on a $13.3 million issue, you will pay about $4.6 million in interest. Therefore, the total principal and interest on this issue would be a little under $18 million here. Annual debt service for FY17, which would be year one, is about a little over $1 million, just to give you sort of an idea of how that works. The first year is the highest, and as you pay off principal, you pay less in interest, and therefore the payments get less and less each year. So that's how the graph that we saw earlier looks with the project. You'll see here that while there's a large increase here, we take advantage of this decrease in our debt service, so that the impact on the budget is not as great as if it was just being borrowed on a year where debt is flat, or even increasing here. So we try to fit it into our existing schedule as best we can to minimize the impact on the budget. We do have other projects that are currently being discussed in our capital plan, in part of our 6-year capital plan by the Board of Selectmen and Board of Finance. And these are Currently, the police station renovation phase 1, which is $2.5 million. Police station renovation phase 2, $2.7 million. And open space purchases, which is about $3 million. Keep in mind that these are just in the discussion phase, and then these projects have not been approved, but rather it's part of the long-term plan that's currently being discussed. So as part of our long-term plan, I'd like to include that in the graph to show what our total debt would be going out into 2023. So you can see that currently we're at that $2.4 million, which is here, and based on this project, there's an increase here with Public Works project, and then you'll see here there's the project for the school, and then it starts to level off a little. So you can see on this graph the debt service that we'd be paying here, a little under $3.5 million here. Assuming a 2% budget increase, just to give you an idea, in 2017, this percentage of our budget is, including the AMI debt, is about a little under 10%, about 9.9% of our budget. So we cut 10% is a benchmark that we like to keep below, or at least keep an eye on, so that it's sort of an industry standard that we try to monitor. So. In terms of cash flow and tax impact over 20 years, the total principal and interest, as indicated earlier, is $17.9 million. There's approximate energy savings in this project over that period of about a little under $3 million. Of course, that will fluctuate depending on the cost of energy. But it's just sort of a rough idea that, about what the approximate savings could be. And there's maintenance and monitoring costs, a little under $1 million that would be required in this project that are in addition in the budget. So the budget impact over that term is about $15.8 million. For an average home in Woodbridge, it's about $450,000, which was assessed at $315,000. That's an average of about $190, a little under $200 per year over the life of the issue. Again, because the issues payments are higher at the beginning and lower at the end, this is an average over 20 years. So it's higher at the beginning of the issue, a little less than 300, maybe 260, around there, 270, and then declines as you go into year 20. So this is sort of the average over the 20 years.
Beecher Road School stands as a hallmark of the Woodbridge community, consistently providing a leading educational environment that prepares students to excel academically, personally, and socially.
Well, I think as a resident of Woodbridge, I know that so many like myself, families have come to this town because of the educational system.
We're a leader in terms of using technology, and we have a very good infrastructure in terms of the technology that's available to students.
We're a community that prides ourselves in education. People move here because of the schools.
As part of the infrastructure improvements, Beecher Road School will also receive a new, fun, and kid-friendly facade that will provide better weather protection. The building upgrades will allow for better classroom lighting, more natural outdoor lighting, air conditioning, and ventilation throughout the entire school building, a new roof, new boilers, and significantly improved indoor air quality. As a result, Beecher Road School will be a healthy, high-performance school, both academically and structurally. By implementing these improvements, the school will dramatically enhance its operations to run more efficiently and cost-effectively, ranking with the top 20% of schools in energy efficiency performance. The improvements will also extend the life of the building by 20 to 25 years.
We could be in the top 20%. We could be awarded a Green School certification. That would provide a better learning environment for our children, help us to have a higher quality of education, at the same time save taxpayers and provide a wonderful school and community school for the next 20 years.
The new and improved Beecher Road School will uphold the Woodbridge community's dedication to academic excellence, safety, and responsible use of taxpayer dollars.
We will entertain questions and/or comments. I would ask any speaker to step up to the microphone and provide their name and address before they ask their question.
Can you hear me? Okay, hi. My name is Ed Weinberg. I live at 24 Ranch Road. And actually, I'm a new resident here. I moved here in August. And I'm taking a look at this. And I guess one of my questions that I have about paying for it is the entire payment of the debt service going to come from raising the mill rate, or have we planned ahead? And if I was going to put on a roof, I would maybe not take an extra vacation this year. Is it all going to come from increase in taxes, or is something going to come from cost savings elsewhere in the budget?
In terms of the paying for the debt service in the budget, one thing that we did do is plan for, there's a prior project that Beecher had from 1996, which was a 20-year project. So that project will be paid off before this debt is incurred. There's also grants that will be sought after in terms of utility investments, rebates, and also the project will be paid for by utility savings in terms of electric, and I know John can speak more in terms of the types of utility savings that exist, but that's also a big part of this.
Yeah, there's energy savings that are built into this project, and we retained an energy performance contractor, ESG, as Jeff mentioned before, and if we had a base project, about a $2.5 million project, that would have been paid totally by the energy savings. But since the building needed so much replacement of equipment, more expenditures had to be made than that. So to answer your question, it's energy savings, there's utility rebate savings that'll go into the project. Because we have an energy performance contract, they could avail themselves of federal tax credits, and that is worked into their financing of the project also.
So we're not going to save money anyplace else in the town though, to pay for it. Anything that we borrow will be paid by increase in taxes. And I know just a little bit extra, we've got another 5-point-something million for the police station. Do we plan on saving money someplace else to pay for that? Or will that be or will everything we saw on the graph be coming out of an increase in tax?
I'm not going to talk about anyone's taxes.
So the graph that you saw were essentially from tax dollars. It's the total impact on taxes for the project. So while there may be some savings in other areas of the budget, that graph represents the total impact on taxes. Does that help?
Yeah.
Okay.
George here, 8 question 5. Is there any state reimbursement for this project? And we applied for it.
Yeah, what you first need is you need approval from the town. That's going to be the very first step after the referendum. Referendum passes, we'll go to the town for approval for state financing, and there'll be some of the areas, the roofing, we believe the curtain walls also could qualify for state funds.
Now, another question. I've always been of the opinion that oil has more BTUs than natural gas. And I buy a lot of natural gas, and I buy propane. And I keep hearing that natural gas is cheaper, but I'm being told that we're looking forward to some serious increases because of getting natural gas up here.
You know, I did this whole energy analysis, and I wish I had this slide here. You're right, a gallon of oil has 140,000 BTUs. A thermal gas has 100,000. but it's the relative cost of, so the oil prices have been fluctuating from year to year, and that's what I did an analysis of. So a couple of years back, I think oil was up over $3 a gallon. Right now, and I believe that's where we would baseline it at, around $3 a gallon. Gas prices, on the other hand, have been dropping precipitously. So we did our analysis, I think it was about $1.20 that we, for a third, that we did our analysis on. But this last year, the actual cost for Beecher was 64 cents per third for gas. So it's the amount of BTUs plus the relative cost of each fuel. So instead, just the heat content, you need to convert that into how many BTUs per dollar, put it on an even footing. So, but comparatively, gas burns cleaner, there's less greenhouse gas emissions, and it's more efficient because of the low relative cost.
Bill Silver, 31 Jack Lane. It's a comment. First of all, a question first, Tony. In your projected costs, we've been thinking about or dealing with the Woodbridge Country Club. And we've made progress in controlling costs in that field. But are we not responsible for capital improvements or capital projects on that property in the foreseeable future, such as the building itself, which may have a leak in a roof, or other things that may go wrong with that golf course?
So there are two types of capital projects that we typically fund here at Woodbridge. The first are capital pay-as-you-go projects, which would be ones that are not large enough to borrow for, and we pay those out of our 6-year capital plan, and that property is part of that plan. There are no assumptions other than the $7 million acquisition in that analysis for the country club property.
So you don't anticipate any large capital costs as regards the Woodbridge Country Club, in spite of the fact that I've heard many people mention that the building is blankety blank along the way.
There's been none identified in our capital process.
Yeah, that answer is a little bit not specific. We have a very bad building there. Do you agree with that one?
That we have a bad building?
The golf country club building is in bad shape.
So if that needs repairs?
That may need significant repairs in the foreseeable future.
I can't comment on the repairs in the country club at this point. I can just tell you that that's not included in the analysis.
That is not included. Okay. Or potentially could be.
Bill, I want to answer that question. At this point, we don't know what's going to happen with that building. It will need either repair or the building may be taken down. Tony's explained the different kinds of financing that we do for projects, and we're certainly hoping that when we do the RFP for the building, that also will bring in a substantial amount of revenue with the ultimate project. So overall to the town, it should be a plus, not a minus.
Thank you. I'm going to speak to this. I want to thank the gentleman and the project that's being presented to us. It's a good project, and I like it. But I'm going to vote no on Tuesday. The reason I'm going to vote no on Tuesday is for the comments I'm going to tell you here. It is a building which I believe should not be renovated, but should be replaced in stages over the next several years. In 20 years, portions of the Beecher School will be 70 years old, and I believe it will have lived longer than its useful life as a school for our children. I envision that 20 years from now, that this building, or parts of this building, will be bulldozed, and part of the $17 billion will be bulldozed with it. The present bond issue that we are being asked to consider at a cost of $17 million will be money not well spent. Furthermore, the $17 million or $18 million is not eligible for any significant reimbursement from the state of Connecticut. I personally look at money being spent on education as not an expense line item in the budget of this community, but rather as an investment on the part of this community. I view myself as a fiscal conservative, and a civil social libertarian more than willing to responsibly expend funds for the future good. We have a good school system here in this town, and this school system is one of the pillars which makes this community a fine place to live. Having come to this community in 1959, I did not know those fine individuals who decided not to renovate and not to expand Central School, but rather make a large investment in a new school on a new site. Their decision back then was a decision to look to the future, to provide a physical facility commensurate with the needs and desires of the community wanting the best for all their children. I wish to thank those unknown people for what they did back in the 50s and the 60s. They did not kick the can down the road, as is so common in the present political economic spirit today. They did the right thing at the right time. At the present time, my wife and I pay approximately 62% of our property taxes for education, and I am pleased to do that. It is my moral contract with this town. Yet I believe that this moral contract to this community to provide for future generations, as others have provided for me and my children of that age, my children and me. I know that a new school is a more expensive entity. I know that there would be a new school state reimbursement maybe 20% for the value of the amount of money we put into that institution. I know that property taxes are effective against my federal taxes. I know that it would still cost me more to build a new structure, but it's the right thing to do and the right time to do it. Dr. Stella and the Board of Education have over the past decade striven very hard to make this a better school system. And I believe they have, to a significant degree, achieved that goal. Yet we as a community, which I have been told contain on a per capita basis a population with the greatest number of college, graduate, and professional degree individuals of any community in the state of Connecticut, should also invest in this structure. I believe in the concept of nature and nurture, and that the community must continue to support and nurture the school system, not only in terms of its teachers, its programs, and its educational philosophy, but also in terms of a structure commensurate with the student population and a facility that is modern and technologically advanced. As I said, I will vote against this building. The money would be better spent at this time with a remarkably low municipal bond rates as part of the first phase, and I said first phase, not a complete school, first phase of a multi-year project to construct a new, modern, technologically, environmentally sound building that will act as one of the educational peers in this community. Not for the 20 years or 25 years that was mentioned in the film, but for the next 50 years along the way. This is my moral contract. And although, I'll tell you all, I will have no more children going to the school system here, and my grandchildren and my children actually do not live in this community, I believe in the future, as people did back in the 50s and 60s, when they did not renovate, they did not add to the center school, but made that expenditure. So I personally would like to see them tear down the school and park built in the 1960s, take this $17 million, an appropriate sum of money, and build a new modern structure on that site. And then 5 years from now, take a look at what the next phase should be. This would be state reimbursed funds. And I believe that is a better way to expend money. Thank you, and I know most of you will not agree with me, but thank you for listening to me. And above all, vote next Tuesday. Thank you.
Anybody else?
Sorry.
Clarence Schultz Jr., 27 Quarry Road, beautiful town of Woodbridge. I noticed the projectiles in this project, and I want to ask you, John, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, first of all, how much evidence of this is going to be OSHA standard certified? Number one. Number two, also, I looked at the graph about the LEED program, and it looked like you had a question mark or an explanation for gold. So if we're going to invest this $13 million in this project, why can't it be a platinum? Why can't it be a platinum project?
First, OSHA standards. Now, OSHA standards may be a question more suited towards our contractors, because they'll be the contractors actually doing the work. But let me take a stab, and if I get in trouble.
first.
You let me know. OSHA standards have to be adhered to on all projects. It has to be OSHA standards. There's federal standards, for safety during construction, and then how we construct the facility also. We have to meet OSHA standards.
Okay.
That's your first
With
question.
that being said, sir, can you explain to me how the new boiler systems make that OSHA standard feasible?
How the boiler system makes OSHA
Yeah,
standards?
did you say you did some of the boilers already at the school?
Boilers have, that project has been done already.
Okay, but what certification do you have that says now OSHA certified and OSHA is in compliance?
This may fall more under the domain of contracting, but for my understanding, with OSHA regulations, OSHA has safety regulations that have to be maintained during the construction process.
Sure.
Fencing off, and if you have a certain area above a certain height, you have to have guardrails. So OSHA standards, but OSHA certified at the end of the project?
The question is still on the table, sir. What certification do you have from any OSHA department to say that what you did already is in compliance to the law of the country?
Yeah. We didn't have to file for OSHA, federal OSHA certification at the end of the project. The project has to be filed with the local building department. So those are the regulations that we had to follow.
Okay, I understand that. But what I'm saying is, you already did the boilers at school. So my question to you, sir, once again, is, or to your colleague, what do you have proved to the residents of Woodbridge that what was done is in compliance?
Mr. Phillips, let me just try to take what I think you're trying to say. OSHA standards are in effect when something is being constructed. The boilers can put in, no one happily was injured, there were no complaints, OSHA was not called, and therefore it satisfied OSHA requirements because there were no issues that evolved. As far as I know, there is no such thing as an OSHA certification. You just have to comply with the laws for safety while you're constructing the project, which the town did. And I think that's all that's relevant.
Okay. Could you provide company name that did those boilers? Just like to know if they're OSHA 1030 certification.
Yeah, the company name,
I'll give you a card. No problem.
Going back to the second question, sir. And that was again that you said that it's going to be maybe a gold project, maybe it's go above gold project. But if it's going to go, if we vote for it to go, I'd like to know what it's going to take to make it a guaranteed platinum project.
Okay. LEED is a rating system. So you have these 100 credits. And as you go through the credits, can you do this in the project? Does this apply to our project? Now, I sat down one day with the LEED rating system in front of me, and we haven't, and typically this is done as an overall committee, where the administrators, the owners, the contractors, the engineers, the architects, all sit down and brainstorm these issues together. But I just took it myself, and I looked at each one of the measures, and I said, we can qualify for this, we probably won't get this. We qualify for this, we probably won't get this. Just to give you a couple of examples, they have some alternate transportation. So if you do certain things out in the parking lot, where you electrically charge vehicles, you give them preferred parking. So I really couldn't say if that type of measure would be done. That's why when we go through the LEED process, it will be done with all stakeholders involved, and we'll decide what's in the best interest of the school and what you may not want to do. So that's why when I did the rating system, I looked through all the credits, and it was a very strong LEED silver. And I think there was like 29 more credits that were maybe. So I said we could definitely go for gold, potentially platinum. But that's where we were at. That's where we were at my first pass at the LEED rating system. But it is a possibility. But some things are: do you want to spend the money to get this, or do you want to implement that? Maybe it may not even be a money issue.
well, the class of 84 graduate community. One of the things that I learned is to go for the best. So if you really and truly can do it and make this project the best that you make it, it needs to be platinum, sir.
I'm with you 100% there. I would like to have this year, that's what we have here.
Chuck Time, 162 Center Road. Couple things. Number one, in the energy estimates you have for savings, you said you benchmarked it based on numbers from how long ago? 2 years?
No, our baseline year, I believe, was 2010, 2011. I believe I chose that as our baseline year.
Okay.
Because that was the year that it was fully using oil. And when you looked at, and I really wish I would have brought this slide because you could have saw, and I will make this available because we've made this available to the building committee, and it's interesting to see. So we've gone back, and every year it's been about 1.1 million kilowatt hours of electricity that's been used, and approximately, I think, 59,000 gallons of oil. And that 2010-2011 year was right there, so we use that as the baseline before any improvements started to be made, before we switched over to gas, and so we did.
So that was your consumption baseline?
Yes.
Okay. How about your cost of materials baseline? Natural gas versus oil. Is that at the same time?
Absolutely.
Same time? Okay. Here's what I'm getting at. The price of natural gas has shot up dramatically in the last several weeks with the cold. Folks in the Midwest, if you don't use a lot of natural gas, you use a ton of it. Check your papers and check your futures. I think part of the decision we have to make here, and since the energy savings is an important part of the formula for what the numbers of this project are, I think we need to use more current information. We want to use the best information possible. So I would ask, Tony, sorry to drop this in your lap, whether this is or not, but the information you're using now is 2 or 3 years old. How about have it 2 or 3 weeks old?
No, maybe I have to state that. I said that was our baseline. That's where we started the evaluation.
Right.
But we've been charting that every single year since then. So when we do the energy evaluation, it's going to be every year from that baseline, every year going forward. So we've actually updated our energy use and, did I say?
No, it's not the energy use, it's the cost for the energy. That's my point. It's more expensive now than it was on the baseline I think you're using.
That's part of it. When we benchmark the cost of gas, as I said during the presentation, we had assumed $1.20 a therm. Last year, it was 64 cents. Now, you said it jumped up.
Yeah, it's...
Now, you said it jumped up. I don't know what percentage you're saying.
I don't have the number on top of my head. It's probably a week old. Latest.
Well, if it jumped up, 50% on that, that could still be like 90 cents a therm.
Okay.
So, I mean, what we're going to do is evaluate all the utility bills each month as they come in. And I would be interested in seeing what this winter's bills have brought. But I would propose to you that it is still going to be significantly less than what where oil is right now.
Okay, it's a good proposal. Let's see the numbers versus the proposal. I think that's just the back of the numbers. So thank you on that. Sure. Second point is, Tony, on your average of $195 per household over a 20-year period, I don't know how many folks going to be here in 20 years. Maybe I will be, maybe I'm wrong. I'd really like to see the table on what that is year by year, because building an average is 15, 18, 20 years out really isn't going to properly reflect the potential sticker shock that we're looking at. And to Bill Silverberg's point, look, investing in education is important, and frankly, that's probably the crown jewel of Woodbridge these days. And I'm not trying to cast aspersions on this project, but we got to go an eyes wide open. And I don't think the 195 average over 20 years is going to make us intelligent voters on what we should expect to see in our tax bill starting in 16 or 17 or 18. That's when the bigger numbers are going to be, right? Right, I thought I heard an estimate of 260, but...
Yeah, so I can tell you the highest, first year, the highest amount is 261. And then it drops by about $6 a year, 255, 249, 243.
Okay, good.
So it gives you a general...
Good, thanks. Better number.
Is there Anybody else that has a question or comment?
I have a question about the green energy. Do you know how many kilowatts the school uses during the day?
We do. We did we obtained from the local utility company the demand load profile. So we got that. It was when they had a certain meter that actually tracks it every 15. And what we wanted to do was look at the minimum usage. So on evenings and then over the weekend, how far down does that dip? And typically it was about 30 kWs is the minimum, but then when school is in operation, it's up over 100 kW, each hour. So what we're proposing to do is put in a 60 kW microturbine that produces 60 kWs as a baseline. And it has the ability to kind of ramp down, so it can ramp down overnight when it doesn't need all of that power. And then ramp up. So, you just take off the baseline energy it produces that more efficiently. And then everything above that would be purchased by utility.
Do you have a number-year payback on the wind turbine?
Yes, we do have that, and I don't know, we are looking at that.
And are we putting in solar because it will really save real money, or because to make it a great school and give us good ratings, which makes us feel good? Does it really save us money?
Fair question. Now, the solar PV does save money, and there's federal and state grants. And so, once this project gets approved, we would put in for the state grants, and the solar would only go on once we secure approval for the state grants and bring it down within the payback range. And I believe that's, 9 years or something like that, payback on the solar. The wind turbine, on the other hand, is a little more as educational for the students and to see how some of nature interacts and produces electricity.
So that wasn't really broke out. How much are we going to pay for that neat looking thing? On a school that has trees around it, so that you're not going to get the best footage.
Well, the proposal that ESG has put forth, it is on a 80-foot, it's above the tree line. It has to be a certain distance from the school. That's why we're not really sure. We want it to be visible, but we don't want it to be so far away where it's impractical. I believe the installation cost was $80,000 for that one. I think it was $80,000.
And what's the payback on a wind turbine?
It's pretty good payback. That's why we said that we might not do the wind turbine, but we wanted to put some of the wheels in the project.
Bob Hill, 68 Cornhill Road. Just a curious question. I know, Joe, you served on the AMI building committee when the junior highs and also the high school was renovated. And when I go into those schools today, especially one of my kids' practices over at the middle school, it's remarkable today. You walk in, it looks like a brand new school. And I was a bit skeptical at the time when with all the problems that existed with all the buildings at that time, what they would look like in the end. And it came out looking like basically brand new schools. And so my question is our expectation that the Beecher Road School will have a similar feel in terms of the investment we're making, where you'll walk in and from an energy efficient, the envelope of the building, and everything that is happening is built out to the point that it's practically a brand new building to that extent?
Yeah, that's a great point. And it was a lot of what was considered as we met. I've been meeting with the building committee for the last 2 years. And we had certain goals. I mean, clearly, energy was one. In recent years, our benchline idea that we just spoke about, it was $450,000 annually in energy costs. So we knew that that could be shrunken. So we knew energy efficiency was going to be a goal. You saw some of the shots of what's happening in the classrooms with moisture intrusion. We don't want to mention the N word here, but when moisture comes into the school, it doesn't produce a healthy environment. So we knew that was going to be a goal. And then at the same time, we did take the time to bring in an architect to make sure that after the project gets done, that when you visit this building, that you'll appreciate the aesthetic value of both the indoor and then also the outdoor So it will get a full facelift in terms of painting and the classrooms and the hallway, and you saw some of the renderings, what it looked like from the outside.
All three of my kids are already through the Beecher program, and obviously it's an investment that's needed. So I have not been as close to watching this all the way along in the building committees and all the information. There's been a lot that's gone on. It went from a $20 million project to 13. So the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Finance, as you review this, and I'll ask you this question because you were very involved with the MD program. What you're bringing to the town for a vote, do you feel as though this project, in terms of its outcome, will have the same feel and same result as what you did over at MD?
Okay, since you asked me directly,
Well, it's because you have the best benchmark for that, situation.
I'll have to answer. The only way I can answer that is yes, I was intimately involved in the Amity renovations at our two middle schools, junior highs at the time, middle schools now. Those were what we call renovated as new. I think the scope of those projects were a little different than what I understand the scope of this project to be. You know I'm new on this board. I only know of what's being presented in terms, so I haven't been through the iterations and the detail as this building committee has. So it's a little difficult for me to answer that with a lot of intelligence or information. My understanding is just what John said, that yes, at the end of this project, although it's not a renovated as new, the look and the feel and the outcome will be similar to what we experienced at the middle schools. Best I can answer that's the information I have.
Thank you.
Frank Ginsberg, Old Mill Road, new resident, relatively speaking. Aside from the finances, can someone tell me when the groundbreaking would actually occur? How long the project would take to completion? And what the children would be doing, where would they be going to school in an interim if that's necessary?
You want to take it? Usually they don't let me talk to these things, so I'll take it. Great question, because we got to be here keeping time. We are currently in discussions with the school administration about the construction schedule. And it's a fairly aggressive schedule for this upcoming summer. And we are anticipating that we will be through A, B, and C wings. So that's everything that is completed within those classrooms, which is new casework, new plumbing, new curtain walls, building control systems, lighting systems, and full paint, all through those three wings. As John mentioned, we're air conditioning the facility that it is not currently 100% air conditioned, so we're putting the new chiller up on the roof. Most of the painting, the hallways, not all. Control systems, the building management system, pretty close to about 50% will be complete in 2014. Plumbing fixtures throughout the restrooms, the lighting systems, and then going into the 2015 construction season, there's a little bit of piping, a lot of piping that has to be done down at the north end. So we'll get most of that piping done. So it's an aggressive schedule. Dr. Sell and his team has been very cooperative, and we're making actually provisions right now for kind of to allow us into those areas where construction is going to be uninterrupted. So we're starting those discussions and we're continuing to have them.
So, I mean, I thought the construction project was out already. You're saying it started this summer?
Absolutely.
And in 2015, when the kids are in school, the lighting will be going on while they're actually in school?
So it's a two-year schedule, so we're going to use 2015 as well, because we'll do the north end of the school in 14 and kind of the south end of the school in 15.
Summertime.
Summertime. Yeah, summertime. But
Okay.
there are, if I can expand on that, there are some improvements we're doing on premium time. So we'll be lighting in areas that are unoccupied in premium time. Some of the building control work, we're replacing all the transformers throughout the whole facility. all of that kind of gets premium time work when we're not interrupting the education process and minimal disruption to the teachers and staff.
I just have one other question on the finance side. Sure. Again, coming back to that number, that 195 average, 260, is that a net increase? I know you saw that, said that some of the debt responsibility in 2016 would go down. All things being equal, would that reduce the net tax increase at that point?
So that's the tax increase for the project. That doesn't factor in any debt that may be being reduced. That just takes into account the program benefits, which is the maintenance savings and energy savings, and then the program costs, which is the debt service, the monitoring costs, additional maintenance, and added energy costs from air conditioning. So if you net all those together, then you get the impact of this project, and that's what that represents.
Okay, fine, thank you.
Anyone else? I want to remind everyone to please come out and vote on Tuesday, February 11th. And I thank everyone for their participation this evening. There was no quorum or anything. It's an informational session, so we don't need a vote. Thank you.